But it's all a matter of just kind of paying attention to who you're around and what they will do, things that they will appreciate. Don't just do something because you are doing like you're gonna like your spouse or whoever is mad at you, so you're gonna go out and buy them something, bring in flowers or whatever, and it's like, and then you think you are getting out of the doghouse, and it's like, no, baby, that's not my love language, and you're still in the doghouse because again, you don't pay attention. Right. So it's just another way, just a pro tip for those of you who are trash partners. Here's what you can do to be better. Do for them what they need, not what you think they need. Hi, Lindas.
Hi.
Hi.
Welcome back.
It's great to be back.
It certainly is.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've had you guys on. Hi, welcome to A Couple Lindas. We're just a bunch of Lindas out here just trying to figure out life, and there's no better way to do it than via conversation and libation. And I am joined with Matt. Hi, Matt.
Hi.
That sultry voice that everyone loves.
I know, right?
And R.G is back from the Great North.
Hi.
Hi.
Where it's so cold.
So cold.
Yes, 8 degrees right now. We just looked it up.
Gross.
Nope.
Pass on that.
The tundra.
The
Yes, the great frozen north.
Yeah, and it's been freezing here, and luckily it's going to break soon. I guess we're going to get up to double digits over the weekend, so that'll be a relief.
Wow. Double digits are a relief.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Well, in the summer though, we're all just gonna complain how hot it is.
Absolutely.
We'll
never be satisfied. That's not the point.
Never. You're never comfortable with the weather.
Well, I'm not comfortable in this weather. I didn't want to go down on record as saying.
All right. So what is putting a smile on your face, RG?
Well, this particular week, what is putting a smile on my face is an article has been accepted of mine that will be published in a journal in the near future. Not exactly sure on the date yet.
Yay.
But I received a notification that they've accepted my work. So I've got an article coming out soon.
Good for you.
Yay.
Thank you.
We look forward to reading it.
Yeah. I'm sure there'll be a lot of big words that I won't be able to pronounce or know the meaning of, but
No, it's, well, you have to, it's written for a certain audience, but at the same time, I like to think that I can make my words, piece my words together in a way that anybody can understand.
Yeah.
So I hope that's my goal. I don't want to, I don't want to write in abstracts and I don't want to be that ivory tower person. I want to be, I want my work to make sense to people and to maybe put a smile on their face, and make them think about, especially LGBT people, in ways that maybe they haven't before. So.
And just for those that have not had a chance to listen to RG's earlier episodes, RG is a political science scholar.
Yes.
I'll say all that.
Yes.
So just for clarification on the article. And Matt, what is putting a smile on your face?
Oh, I'm about to make it so much more lowbrow right now. Because I am not a political science scholar. I am just a plain old Alabama football fan who couldn't be more thrilled to know that our team is for the third straight year in the national championship final game.
Yes.
And I would be remiss in telling you anything in the world made me any happier.
You are true. Well, I was going to just say true blue, but that would be a misstatement. But you
More
are,
of a true crimson.
yeah, true crimson.
I bleed crimson.
He has
as
walked
it
in
were.
here with all his Alabama gear on today.
Well, and I would like to piece my words together in a way that they can make sense to anybody. Roll Tide. How'd I do?
I think we got it.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
And let's see. What's putting a smile on my face is that all of the holidays are over, and it's all's quiet on the Western Front. Looking at my calendar, seeing that there is no place that I have to be but in the present, and it makes me so happy because it just gets so intense in the fall. There's just always, I mean, no matter where you are, it's just so many events, so many holidays, so many things that you have to do, and it's just so tiring.
That's
So,
true.
welcome to the beginning of 2018, where it's just a pretty chill ride on this roller coaster. I guess this is the uptick before like it all comes crashing down again, like each year. But I am glad to just
We're also
be
hopeful in
in it.
January.
It's all about optimism and resolutions and hope and the whole thing.
Well, so speaking of, maybe trying to find some ways to start the new year off right. We wanted to talk a little bit about love languages, self love, and how do we show love and how do we like to receive love. There may be a number of you that have heard of this, the five love languages. It started out as something that you would hear regarding, trying to fix your relationship or trying to figure out how to communicate with your partner. And it's also been used for trying to figure out communication with your children, like for your parent to understand like what's the best way to communicate love to your child and vice versa. And so it's something that I found this quiz and I took it and kind of got my results. And so I asked you guys to take it. And listeners, if you would like to do so as well. So while we're talking about it, you kind of have an idea of what the hell we're talking about. Just Google the five love languages and, quiz. And it's like a short quiz. It only took what, like, a couple minutes.
Oh yeah, just a few minutes.
And like, no, it's not like rocket science as far as like this is not your end all be all definition of who you are, but it just kind of gives you a better idea of what makes you feel good, what makes you feel appreciated. And so the five love languages are quality time, meaning spending that time undistracted, like you're that one-on-one time with a person where you're not just on the phone or watching television, you're actually communicating with one another. There's physical touch where you're showing affection, hugs, hand holding, that sort of thing. Words of affirmation, where you're speaking and saying, hey, I love you, or I care about you, or that's so great, thank you for doing this. Receiving gifts, which that's kind of
Everybody loves a gift.
everyone loves a gift. And then acts of service, where you do good, you help out, you do deeds, like even if it's just something as simple as like washing the dishes. Some people, like, the way that they feel like you care is you help out and do something around the damn house. So we all took the quiz, and so it gives you a numbered score of what you kind of had the most points in, I guess. And so for mine, it's like I got 10 with quality time, and number 2 was 9 with physical touch. So those are like the most important things to show me and you care, which makes a lot of sense. Like I'm all about spending time with a person, as you all know, because I'm always like, hang out with me, let's say.
Well, I was going to say it makes so much sense knowing you and knowing your personality that quality time is the highest one. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and something that will come as a surprise, obviously, is to a lot of people is the physical touch. That I do actually appreciate affection and hugs and that sort of thing. But I think with that one, it needs to be from the right person, like not just anybody coming up and like. But like if I
Don't just stop me and hug me.
right, but like R.G recently, we've obviously established like, hey, like we are close. We had a bonding moment the other night, and so yeah, I think we kind of reached a new level of our friendship. So keeping in that transition, let's go on with you, RG. What was your result?
Well, like you, my highest score was quality time, which makes perfect sense to me as well, because that's what I love to do. I love to be a part of a group. I love to be around people who share interests. I even like to be around people who sometimes I disagree with because that keeps it interesting. So quality time makes perfect sense to me. And then the next closest one, words of affirmation, it was like, less than half the score of the quality time one. So I'm all about the time. But I'll take your kind words of appreciation from time to time as well. But I want to spend time with people. I love that. We were talking earlier about, if you believe in astrology, that I'm a Gemini. So that I think overlaps with a personality characteristic that I'm really familiar with in terms of having to be social, right? Having to be around people. So
Yeah. Matt, what were your results?
Mine were, well, I'd actually taken a quiz before I got here today that was very similar, and quality time was number one. In this one, it was a tie between quality time and words of affirmation. But if I had just looked at the categories without knowing the questions or thinking more about it, I think I would have picked quality time for myself. That just makes so much sense. I mean, we look at our social group that we're in, and I mean, it's what we do all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you say? Libations and conversation.
Yeah,
and,
I mean, it's all about spending that time with one another. And yeah, it's obviously kind of a given with us, because that's, like you said, that's what we do.
But our conversations are, I mean, oftentimes foolish, don't get me wrong. But the conversations themselves are quality. When I think about everyone in our circle of friends and the way we spend time before things get a little hazy, I feel like there's some learning and growing and sharing and real things that go on. And it can even be someone that's a stranger that comes into the group, and you're like me.
Yeah.
Great. How's your relationship with your mother? I think you said in an earlier episode. That's me too. There was a girl in last night from Mexico, and I knew her for 3 minutes, and I was like, oh, well, why is reading horror books your favorite thing? I mean, who are you really?
Yeah.
What's your life?
Let's go deeper.
Let's go deeper.
And so, like you said, if you are in tune with yourself, you can kind of look and, tell. But, in case you aren't aware, you can take the quiz and find out. But what's interesting, what was the lowest two on your list? Just curious.
Oh, that's a good question.
Like mine was acts of service. I only got 2, and receiving gifts. I only got 4. And that makes sense, because I don't really, like, gifts are great, like if you are a person that, really knows me and knows what to get, like, it's great. But like, I hate the idea of just like someone giving something just because it's an obligation. It's like, I'd rather not, because that's just like stuff that's just going to pile up in my house, and I don't want that. I mean, I appreciate the thought, but to me, a better way to show that thought of love is to just, spend time with me. I don't need you to bring anything. I don't need you to do anything, but I need your undivided attention.
See, that's the thing. That's what this is. Okay, so if you haven't read through these descriptions, do that. Because when we're talking about quality time, it actually goes into saying that you have to have undivided attention. So it actually says, put the phone down.
Yes.
Right. Put the phone down. If we're sitting at dinner, you're not on your phone, you're talking to me. And that, I think, is something that may get, so it's not just, we're hanging out. I wonder how much of this is a little bit of that personal need for, and so you don't care for the gift, right? But the quality time, the undivided attention is the gift, right? So I wonder if it's not a physical gift so much as it's, this emotional gift that a person can contribute.
Well, because, as we said before, time is the most precious currency to me.
Certainly.
Absolutely.
I mean, like, but if you're going to buy me a car, that's great too. Like, I love that.
I'm not going to turn it down.
I'm not going to turn it down.
Right. Second most precious currency is an S550. I'm with you.
But yeah, like so many people just kind of assume that just hanging out with someone is quality time, and it's not. Like
No.
watching a movie, like, yeah, that's that's great, but like that catch up time, that's like, hey, checking in. How are you? Who are you?
I love to go to a movie, but you know what I like best is now let's go get coffee or a drink and
Yes.
let's talk about the movie.
Yes. Yes. I have a friend that I frequently we'll go like, hey, like we haven't seen each other in a while. We'll like, hey, let's go see this film because there's actually a decent film playing in town, and then we'll go out afterwards to talk about it, and then end up just kind of catching up and all that good stuff. But yeah, it's all about the interaction. Like, yeah, you can do this thing, but then take time
What
to.
did you get from that, and how is that like or different than me, or what did you see that I didn't see, or how did that make you feel that I didn't pick up on?
Yeah.
In my personal life, I think this is exemplified with my family. We those of us who have a larger extended family get together at the holidays, right? We celebrate. There's so many of us, we can't buy everybody a gift.
Yeah.
And when I think growing up, that was something that I looked forward to, was the present, right? But now, as somebody who has moved away from my hometown, has moved away from a lot of my support network in many ways, that standing in my mother's kitchen, which was newly remodeled, so we had Christmas at her house, standing in that kitchen cooking with my mother and having my nieces and nephews running around, that was more than sufficient. That was nothing, that there was nothing under the tree that was going to be better than that.
Yeah.
So I also think that this is the way we experience love is a learning curve, right? And it changes from the time we're young to maybe later. That as you grow older, perhaps you just appreciate more the time that you get to spend with people.
Who needs or wants really? I mean, anything. When you think
Right.
about buying, I've got to get my father a gift. For Christmas.
Yeah.
What do you? A McDonald's gift card, because he's all about the senior coffee. So it was at least
Right.
something he could use. But I mean, realistically, what did he want? For me to be there.
Yeah.
Exactly.
For us to have Christmas dinner.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or what have you. I mean, the gift itself, it doesn't mean much. Although I did get for Christmas this year stretch jeans. So I do want to kind of contradict myself a little bit, because as a man of a certain age and size, they're everything. I just want to throw that in
So
there.
thank you.
So thank you.
It's like leggings for men, yoga pants.
Yeah, I agree. Something that my family did. We have a smaller family, so it's not as stressed, like trying to find gifts for everybody. But we kind of decided some years ago to just kind of forgo all of it. I mean, my mom still expects like a card, like a well thought out,
Right.
card. But as far as like a gift, and so knowing her, like I can tell right off the bat what her love language is, and it's definitely gifts. Because she's always like, I want this bracelet, or I want this perfume, or whatever.
But the one thing she expects is a well thought out card.
Yeah,
So that means more to her than anything else. Is what I'm hearing.
yeah, time and but probably mostly just that. I don't know what category that falls under, but like, yeah, the well thought out card. Some words, I guess that's like words.
Words of
It's a hybrid
affirmation.
of things, but I think the words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe an act of service.
Well, that's why I say it could be a hybrid of
Could
Oh,
be.
yeah.
It could be.
It's a gift, it's a service, and
Yeah.
it's an expectation, it sounds like. But
Especially for like people who are like heads of household, where they're always having to take care of everything and everyone. Like it's like when I was in the kitchen, she was cooking, but then she was getting ready to go to bed, like Christmas night, Christmas Eve, and I was like, oh yeah, I'll do the dishes. She's like, oh my God, thank you.
Well, because, doing dishes, Lord, who wants to do that?
But it's all a matter of just kind of paying attention to who you're around and what they will do, things that they will appreciate. Don't just do something because you are doing like you're gonna like your spouse or whoever is mad at you, so you're gonna go out and buy them something, bring in flowers or whatever, and it's like, and then you think you are getting out of the doghouse, and it's like, no, baby, that's not my love language, and you're still in the doghouse because again, you don't pay attention. So it's just another way, just a pro tip for those of you who are trash partners. Here's what you can do to be better. Pay attention to what your spouse or partner or whatever. Sorry to be so heteronormative or whatever the hell. But whomever, what you can do to really help rebuild that relationship is do for them what they need, not what you think they need. So just, think about it a little bit. I don't know.
that's a very valid point. I was talking to a friend recently, and she says, I forget even the specifics of the conversation, but she said, you don't know what they're thinking. You don't know what they're feeling. Don't make that assumption of how you think they're going to respond. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it really is being in touch with and letting them tell you what they think and feel and listening.
Right.
And I think that goes back to quality time.
Well, and I think that what we're seeing is a lot of overlap with these categories that we've been talking about, because a lot of, because sometimes from time to time you're going to give a gift, right? So go into it thinking about what the person wants, what they need, what they would appreciate, and not, from the aspect of, well, is this going to make me look good, or is this, is this garish enough, right? So go into it with the approach of empathy, right? I think that's something that goes across all of these categories is empathy.
Coming up on the heels of last night, pardon me, we were all just at a birthday party that we were invited to that said no gifts, please. Because what did everybody at that table want? What did the birthday recipient want? Time.
Yeah, time.
Quality
Spend time
time
together.
to be with friends.
Yep.
And, they say the two things that make up experience are anticipation and remembrance.
Yes. Well, and this is something that I feel. I throw a party for myself every on my birthday. We have a shrimp boil. And it's the one thing that I look forward to the most in the summer. And it's not because I cook mean shrimp, because I do. It's because everybody...
Not just because you cook mean shrimp.
Everybody shows up to the house. We're outside. Honey, we put tents in the yard. I've got tables out. We've got chairs everywhere. We're playing games. And there's 40 people in my backyard. And I love each and every one of them. And I've met new friends through this, because somebody says, well, you would love so-and-so.
Yeah.
Please extend an invitation. Of course, come on over. I've met new friends. I rekindle relationships with old friends.
Yeah.
It's that experience that, spending time with people is what we want.
Quality time. I mean, and to your point, look at our friend group and the people we know in the community. It's like the calendar is pinned together by events. Your shrimp boil is right in the middle of it, right? We all have a Christmas party we go to on Christmas night. You're going to be at the Blarney on the 17th of March, right? Friendsgiving. I mean, it's just about people being together, more than anything else. And I love that.
Yeah.
Here.
It's going to be so warm during the shrimp boil too. I can't wait.
Yes, it's
I mentioned I'm cold.
right. It's cold here, by the way.
It's so cold.
Sorry, I was just thinking about playing.
My birthday is in June,
and
so
yeah, I'm looking forward.
It's
to that.
warm. It's warm.
Yeah, something that I've noticed is that it feels like some people are really good at giving gifts, and I'm really terrible at it. Like, there's some people that will, like, as far as like what you're saying about, okay, it's Christmas, I need to get my dad something, I'll do this. But there's other people that throughout the year, they'll just be out somewhere and they'll see something like, oh, so-and-so will like that. And then they just get it, and then they'll save it for whether it's a birthday or a holiday, Christmas, whatever, Hanukkah. And I'm like, is there a class in that? How do I learn that?
I think it's genetic, and I don't have it either.
I don't either.
that.
My father is the one.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah?
he will. It could be February, and everybody's got Valentine's stuff on display, and he finds the one thing that my mother would love for her birthday, which is in December. And but it could be for me as well. Like, he gets he's the best gift giver.
Yeah.
He loves to put together. So we do Christmas stockings. That's a big tradition in our family. So there's so many of us that we have 20 stockings, I think now. My dad loves to put those together because he gets to go out and find the little knickknack or the little candy or the something that just fits the personality of his grandchild or of me or my brother or of my partner or of our dogs. He puts stockings together for our dogs.
Aww.
He is the best at gift giving. He needs to teach a class because I would take it because I need to learn what he knows.
I think it's just, I don't know if it's genetic or what, but it makes me feel bad. I get a gift and, oh, you ordered this from the Franklin Mint and it's monogrammed and my childhood handprint is on it. Meanwhile, I've got you this gift card on the way here.
Right.
I'm on the opposite end of that spectrum. I get it. I'm terrible with that.
Yes. The one thing that I do love to do though, and just because we're near the holidays, so I love to send out a holiday card. And I love to handwrite the messages in them. And, I'm a terrible gift giver, but that little note, we get them in return. We get them from friends who are, in New York and on the West Coast, who are everywhere. And I just love reading those little messages. One thing that I have considered doing, and I don't know if maybe some of you have more experience with this than I do. One of my partner's friends sends a Christmas letter, which is, essentially an update from of the family, what's happened in the last 12 months.
Yeah.
I've considered doing that because I love that you get that little intimate touch that's beyond just wishing you happy holidays.
Yeah.
Because I say that and I mean it when I say it, but it's just a little bit more of an insight and a little bit more information.
I would say, if you could keep it succinct, I've gotten essays from people.
Okay.
I have always found, and I'm not discouraging you from doing this either, because I know you would do a lovely job at it, but I remember getting those earlier on, and they just seem so trite and full of pretense. And, where are the warts? You're not this perfect. You know why people don't do that anymore like they used to? Facebook.
Social media.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Social media. Of course. Yeah, because, that's
So
the
now
thing
we've
too.
come full circle. So now
Yes.
that we have Facebook, I'm taking the time
Yes.
to do this and make it personalized. And that does
Right.
make it more lovely in this day and age, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And that's something that have been working on with, like, giving cards. Like, you like, oh, it's so-and-so's birthday, let's go. And so, I'll get a card and just write my name in it and send it on. But I'm like, you know what? I really need to personalize it. Like, yeah, the little elves in the shops that are cranking out these little Hallmark cards and these words of affirmation, like, I could do a little bit and add like an actual personal, like, hey, this is what you really
Right.
mean to me, and I'm grateful for you in my life. And, so I'm working on getting better at that. I've been not so good about it.
So I had to, for my job, right, I live away, and I have found that writing little notes, little cards, sending them to people that I care about,
Yeah.
it gets this great reaction and it means so much. So my grandmother passed away 2 years ago, and we went through, we had to go through her things, her belongings. We found all these notes and letters and cards. Some of them were from literally the 1920s.
Wow.
And she kept them because, they meant something. They were from somebody that was attached to a part of, that was a part of her. And it just, a light went off, and I said, is there going to be a written record of my love, of my affection?
Now that everything is digital.
Right. Is there going to be this thing that I
Tangible.
leave behind that shows the world how, and you don't have to. That's just something that I think about because, maybe I'm conceited in that way. But is there something that I'm going to leave behind that would let my family and future generations know how much I cared about them? And I started writing letters and notes and cards and
Yeah.
Handwriting.
yes, handwriting, and have started to send them with increasing frequency.
Good for you.
Yeah.
It's something that if we're going to talk about maybe a resolution, that would be something that I would resolve to do more of, is to show my affirming words in that way more.
And I've taken a pivot to, showing love. How about showing love to ourselves? I know, R.G, you were kind of talking about just, within your field, how important it is and how hard it maybe is to come by.
Yeah. So whenever I thought about what to say or what I might contribute to the conversation today, the concept of self-care came to mind. How do we show love to ourselves? Because as a university professor, there's a lot of give. There's a lot of take. There's because you've got students who you're giving them knowledge, right? You're constantly working in the classroom as an advisor, as a mentor, right? You're constantly giving. As I mentioned, I have an article coming out. Well, that didn't come without criticism. I had to give that to a journal and then receive the harsh words on many occasions to make it better. But all of this serves to really weaken a person.
Yeah, your
and
spirit.
You have to take time, set time aside to really focus on, yourself and to just to breathe a little and what makes me happy? What can I do to not be so caught up in all of the giving that I'm losing out.
Yeah.
That's a balance that I'm trying to strike myself personally.
Like with my, life, a few years before this year, my schedule was all over the map. I was working, nights and weekends, and always on call, it felt like. And so there's never this time off. But, and then also trying to, fit in that quality time with friends.
Right.
I started to make a point to have like self-care Mondays.
Mm-hmm.
Like Mondays are my nights, obviously I go to work, but like that evening I do nothing but what I want to do and what serves me. Whether it's, I come home, maybe I'll go to the gym or do some yoga or, cook, for myself for the week, make something that I really enjoy. Like some of my favorite meals, like, I'll cook a, steak and some artichokes and just, and take that time. And anytime someone, messages me and is like, hey, let's get to my, I, not tonight, but,
Right.
let me know if, Wednesday works for you. So that's like has been my first step in that. But then there's all this talk about like, what is really the actual term of self-care and like how it's almost become this buzzword, and like the things that people are doing are technically aren't self-care.
Right.
Like, a Netflix binging, that's not self-care.
Right.
So Matt, is this something that you have thought about or started doing?
I gave that some thought. I do want to share this.
Yeah.
A mutual friend of all of ours put on Facebook just moments before we began this podcast, as a matter of fact. And he said, massage, then a cocktail. Just a way to say, I love me. Just wanted to throw that out there.
Yes.
And massage and a cocktail. I've got the cocktail. Just need someone to give me a massage and I'm good.
Yeah.
Physical touch.
Physical touch.
I think, and I don't know if this is redundant or what it is, but the quality time we talk about spending, to me, is so reciprocal that in a way that is love for myself.
Okay.
I get so much out of the time spent talking and the libations and the sharing, because it always goes way, we all go deep quick in this group, and I get so much from that to me, that quality time with others almost equates to self-love.
Okay. Yeah. Kind of like the way that extroverts get energy from being with people. Right?
Absolutely, because I get so much from it. Whether it's a complete stranger like the
Right.
lady from last night, and just jumping into who are you, where are you, why are you here? That does something for me. I just feel like I just glean little bits of things from people, and I don't know what I'll ever do with it, but
Right.
storing it away.
You're just taking everyone's souls.
Just the little emotional succubus that I am.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I do get energy from being around people that I want to be around, that is. But then after a while, I do I run out of energy. So I'm not sure if I'm just a social introvert or whatever, but anyways, so I do kind of need that Monday. And the times that I've forgone it and I went out and met up with them, I was miserable and I was snippy. I was, short. I was like, I was not in the mood.
Well, and that comes with a personal understanding of oneself, right? What we're talking about. What is your love language to yourself, right? What makes you happy. And for some, it could be extended conversation and long nights out having a fabulous time. Or it could be, I'm going to sit at home and read
Touch
a book
myself.
or knit or, yes.
Play a little divinals. But, and almost every day I'd love to get up, and I work from home oftentimes in the mornings, and I put on my fuzzy pajama pants, and I put on one of those peaceful stations on Pandora that just is lovely, and light a candle or put the little fireplace on the TV, the virtual fireplace or whatever. I hadn't really thought about it before this conversation, but that's a form of self-love,
That's self-care.
right?
Yeah.
Creating an ambient, peaceful, habitual environment in which to begin my day.
Yeah.
Certainly.
And after the the rush of the fall and the holidays, I feel like I've really abused myself with all of the the bad eating habits and the consumption.
Imbibing.
Like, I'm just gonna say the consumption of all the things.
Yes. Good way to put it.
I'm like, okay, my body's telling me, hey girl, you need to slow down
Relax.
with all that mess. And, like, I was having some neck issues for a couple of weeks there, which they've seemed to have been clearing up. So I'm like, you know what? I need to take the time to do this for me. And so I started getting back into yoga, and I just do it here at home. I'm not trying to be out of the class and like looking all awkward, but it's really helped, and it's it helps ground me and get my posture back to something that's remotely decent, as well as as much as we love our libations here at a couple of Lindas. I was realizing that I don't like waking up and feeling that way in the morning, and it's unproductive, and so I need to curb it a little bit. So thinking about how do I, when your social life kind of revolves around it, how do you navigate that? And it's not that, like I'm just like going into, AA or anything like that, but it's more just kind of taking a step back and seeing if I can hang out with everybody, but not, consuming so much.
And it doesn't matter what you drink. I think you think it does, or people are offering you a drink or whatever, especially if you're at someone's house or whatever. But when you're out, the other night I switched to water
Yeah.
pretty early, and found that I still felt right having that beverage in my hand and swishing and swirling something around, but at the same time I was hydrating, and I didn't feel so miserable
Yes.
the next morning
Yes.
or whatever, but I had just as much fun.
Yeah.
So it is possible, and I have done that at least twice in the last 10 years, so you can take a page out of my playbook.
At least twice in my existence.
Well, it's a matter of recognizing and understanding yourself.
Yeah.
And what's your limit in that capacity. Sometimes you are better at understanding that, and sometimes you're not, and you kind of fall on your face, literally and figuratively. But it's a matter of that's another aspect of self-care is how we sort of navigate that. And that's, it can be a difficult thing to do for many people, especially around the holidays. But, it's certainly possible.
Yeah, it's something I've been thinking about for some months now, but I've just had like a lot of hand wringing about it. Like, how do I do that? How do I, because I remember when I was like trying out veganism for, a little bit. And, I didn't really talk about it on Facebook because I hate when people talk about being vegan about, Facebook. It's like, hey, is there a doctor in the house? I'm vegan. No one asked you that. I need a doctor. And I went to, a friend was, wanted to cook us dinner, and I was like, oh, hey, by the way. And so, she's like, okay, cool. And so she made 2 separate stews, one that was, vegan, vegetarian, and, the one that was, had meat for everyone else. But you would have thought that I came in and offended, like the other, person was like, just kept giving me shit about like, oh, so you don't want any of this, delicious beef, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I'm like, okay, like, calm down. This isn't a judgment to call on anyone. I'm just saying, for me, I'm just trying to see what is good for my body.
Right.
I'm not saying that I'm not preaching over here about you not eating meat. So often that's what happens, is that when you quit or take a step back from doing something, other folks take up in arms about it. And so that's what the hand wringing was about a little bit, was like, okay, how's that going to affect my time with that person? Like, are they going to give me shit about it? Or are they going to, or internalize it or whatever? Like, and you don't have to do that. Keep doing you. I'm just saying, I've got 8 o'clock meetings.
Thank you.
And I'm tired of being a garbage person in the morning. Because of what I'm noticing is that, as I'm getting older, my body's changing, so I can't recover as quickly as I used to. Like, this wasn't an issue before, but now I'm starting to see that, and I've tried different little things where it's like, okay, well, I'll just do this or drink that, and it's all and it before, and that worked. Like, if I just stuck to bourbon, I'd wake up and I'd be fine the next day. Well, no, it's giving me heartburn or indigestion now because I'm in a decade. And wine, I love wine, but I'm getting headaches from it now. So I'm like, wow, damn it.
You just have to push through it, sister. Wait till you get my age. You'll be fine.
So I'm coming up with little, tricks, at least for when we're out and about. It's a little easier to kind of slide by when you're out and about than it is when you're at someone's home.
That's also, I think, a social expectation that we have in our group that
I think it's I think that's just kind of everywhere.
Well,
I don't think
we could do better at policing that. I think we could do better at saying, instead of let's do drinks, let's do something else. Let's not make it so centered on that aspect.
However, though, we don't have a whole lot of options in the
I
small
was going to say, we're going to go bowling
This is
now,
true.
or how does that work? Let's go bowling. That'll be fun.
I would go bowling, but
I think
those shoes?
there's still beer there. Those shoes those are hip anymore.
hip.
Not in my book.
You can tell because I just used the word hip. Like that's a thing.
But that's
Don't
also
go by me.
But that's also a factor of it. It's like, if you don't meet up for drinks, then what do you do? You meet up for dinner. Essentially we are meeting up for dinner because we do end up eating. But I remember being in college when our pastime was meeting up at the coffee shop.
Sure.
And hanging out, drinking chais, sitting outside, people watching, talking, catching up, and people would come through. So it was kind of the same thing, but it was just in a coffee shop. Mm-hmm. But once it's almost like once you get to a certain age, that's not something you do anymore. Or if you go, it's all a bunch of little 12-year-olds hanging out. You don't really want to be hanging out with a bunch of 12-year-olds. So where do you go? Right. But you can still hang out in these establishments and just, get a tea or whatever. Just, I don't know. The issue is that my fear of people, giving me shit about it, I guess.
Yeah.
No one knows.
Or making,
Just have you get your wine glass, put your water in. If that's a thing you're worried about, I'm telling you, no one. I don't know if it was a New Year's Eve party or when it was recently, but I remember switching over to water. It wasn't a Dasani bottle. It was in whatever glass I've been drinking out of. And it just felt remarkably normal. And it's important to hydrate. God knows I don't want to do enough of that anyway. So give it a shot.
Give it a shot. I will.
I think it's also probably about investing in ourselves. Recognizing your talents, your purpose, the things that you really want to do and why you want to do them. And I'm sure that's something we could all be better about. I was listening to another podcast about that this week, and a great quote I took from it is, purpose is the opposite of depression. And I thought, finding your purpose and that thing you really want to do and realizing why you want to do it and really singularly going for that thing or those things. Yeah. And I would say that's a version of self-care, investing in yourself and your purpose and your talent. So I have no evidence of that. I'm just saying it's food for thought.
Yeah. And also just taking care of ourselves. Self-care is actually going to the doctor, going to the dentist, keeping up with your whatever's going on. The post from a friend that was going to a massage. He's very good about, hey, I need to keep these bones in check. So he
Right.
goes on a regular basis to massage therapists and
Yes.
maybe a chiropractor and all that. But so often we don't take the time to bother to do it. But that's real self-care. It's like you're actually doing the things that keep you healthy and going and
Well, and I think this raises an important point that is often left out is that we can talk about the good things that we do, like watch Netflix at home and or knit or what have you. But there are, and you're absolutely correct, there is this actual physical aspect of self-care that means you should go to your doctor, you should go to the dentist. But there are so many of us, especially in the area we are, who don't have that option,
yeah.
who can't regularly do that aspect of self-care. And that's something that just to put it out there, this that we could go off on a whole nother
Yes.
conversation on this, but recognizing, and that was, so maybe what I was thinking of is we're all this quality time, right? That's our highest category on this test that we all took. But I would like to hear from other people, right? What is your love language that is not quality time? Is it gift giving? Because I want to hear about it. How so? Like what makes that? Why is that? What are these others? So I would love to hear from other people to know more about what's your love language, what's your version of self-care, and how is that different across the spectrum of
So
humanity.
Let's talk about it over drinks.
So let's
Quality time.
so for those of you listening, let's continue this conversation. Go to our Facebook page, a couple of Lindas, and write us at our email address, a couple of Lindas at gmail.com. Also, we have a website, a couple Lindas.com, where you can, comment, all that good stuff. But yeah, please reach out, let us know, give us tips about what your form of self-care is and what maybe your different love languages are that we didn't really get a chance to touch on because ours was different. So we'll be back with more Couple of Lindas. Honey, baby, Linda, what are you doing? What are you doing?
That Logan Paul,
Logan Paul.
the YouTube star, right? First off, they're YouTube stars?
Oh, yeah.
It's a thing.
It's a thing.
Right, it's a thing now. Yeah, so
They make millions. These kids are out here making these little videos and they're millionaires.
yes, and the amount of responsibility that comes with that is staggering because you're reaching 25, 35, 45, 50 million people. We were just talking about, so the video that went up, they're in a group with in the suicide forest, right, in Japan is what it's known as. And they come across a body, right? And the image then is they have this video, they have the image of the body, and it goes up on YouTube, and we're wondering if this sensitive content should be that accessible, right? The amount of responsibility that comes with being such a young person, that your financial future is at stake for posting these videos. So YouTube stars, just first off, but also what kind of supervision is there for some of this content? That's another question that I have too.
And with, billions of, people, well, I don't know if it's billions, but I mean, like, clearly millions of people are on YouTube every single day and are uploading content. It is daunting for one entity to be able to quickly assess a video and take it down. And you're saying how 6 million people, by the time it got taken down, 6 million people had already seen it. And I think it was up for maybe a day.
Right.
That's it. But that's all it takes. With someone that's already got 15 million, followers, yeah, they're it's gonna go viral quickly.
And it can become even more problematic when we're talking about other kinds of content. And I also wonder, so should it be appropriate that we have these algorithms or even individuals who are making decisions on what we could and could not post, what we could and could not say? I think that, even though it's a private corporation, that sort of goes against a sense of democracy that
Yeah.
we have in terms
Freedom of speech.
Right, freedom of speech, right? We all have that sort of ingrained in our experience, especially in the United States. So, is it appropriate? What level of supervision should there be? Should there be any? I think those are conversations that we're increasingly going to have about social media, especially in light of things like, false news reports on social media. And I'll have to provide the reference later, a fantastic TED Talk that I watched not long ago that essentially tells the story of how you go down the rabbit hole in your social media content by clicking this link. You increasingly get more, for lack of a better term, radical content. So one click can lead to this next article, this next article, this next article, and you go from maybe a libertarian bent article into like white supremacy. And it just fuels that. And because the content creators, they want you to have this specific thing, but the people who are managing the social media, they don't care. It's a click. It's just another bit in the algorithm. So I think that extends to a much broader conversation. Conversation.
Yeah, and developing the technology to help monitor all that. I mean, it's like there's so much that's happening. There's not one person that's like just sitting there watching it. I mean, like, yeah, so how much of it do you need human eyes to see something in order to know, like, hey, this needs to be flagged and taken down? Because everything's so automated. And they've got things that will, look for, features, but like, who would have thought to look for like, oh, let me make sure that we put that piece of code in there that scans for,
right,
that.
For that. Until it happens, right? And then we have to think about it and reconsider after.
Just like with Facebook Live, like with the Philando Castile,
right?
All these murders that were taking place, like on Facebook Live, where it did give a wake up call to Facebook, like, okay, and so they started putting up these little warnings, little discretionary warnings, but like how will a person can just go live and like
It's live, sure,
right,
and it's just anything. How do we pay attention to that? But yeah, like that Logan kid, just insanely poor judgment, thinking that he's being funny and it's going to be something that's cool and get him a lot of views, and it's like, really, you were just that privileged and desensitized to human life,
right,
that you feel compelled to do that,
right?
So cool. I hope this ruins your career, because we don't need someone having that much access to people with very little regard for human life. So, Matt, do you have a honey?
I had something that rubbed me the wrong way just today, without going into the specifics of my job or industry. People take, and I know this is human nature and it's not specific to this place and time, but people just take things for granted. And once you have something, you feel entitled or privileged to it, and then begin to complain about the bill that you pay for that thing that you said you wanted, but now that service should be lower and this thing should be mine. And again, I'm trying to be vague and not specific, but it just was a survey that came through in what I do professionally today, and it just really rubbed me the wrong way. And I just wanted to say, I work in a technology field. You have amazing technology. We have abilities to do things that we could do not 100 years ago, but not 5 or 10 years ago. And it's the world in your hands with this thing that you said you wanted and are enjoying and are getting great service. And now you want to come around and complain
What is
about
it? Mama
it.
said it's a privilege, not a right.
Right?
To have that.
It is a privilege, and it's a thing that you came and asked us for, that we're providing on a previously negotiated rate that we all agreed upon, and then now the survey that I have to read is you complaining about this delightful thing. And then I did some math, and I was like, which is, by the way, at an extremely fair and competitive rate. So, honey, enjoy what you have. Know that everything comes at a cost.
Yes.
The industry I work in, people want to come in and haggle like it's a flea market. And I just think to myself, I don't walk into my insurance agent or go to dinner and say, well, I would like the 6-ounce filet, but I would like to pay for the cheese fries. I mean, it just doesn't work that way. This is what we offer. This is what it costs, and this is how it works. Yay or nay.
If you don't like the cost, go to a different provider.
Correct. And then you'll find out that their service was not delightful, and we'll see you in 6 months. Hunny.
So, I apologize in advance for if this is a topic that is, too graphic for, some folks. However, I think it needs to be talked about. So, I'm at work, there's restrooms, right? Restroom etiquette. Office restrooms are the bane of my existence, especially the ones where there's like multiple stalls. I've relished the offices where there was just a individual, like, it's just me in there. And there are, a couple of different sets. There's like 2 in nearby sets of restrooms where I work. One of them I prefer over the other, and that's because there's a smaller number of stalls, so it's not like this big, like, subway train of people in and out of there. So for some reason, we're down to just 2 stalls in there. And so I go in, I'm like, okay, like I, have my morning coffee and a little upset stomach, whatever. And I go in there and I'm like, someone's in there. I'm like, camping out. I'm like, okay. All right. Yeah. So I go, sit, go to my stall, and there's like the great standoff, right? There's the great standoff. It's like, I need to be in here a minute. Like, what are you doing? Like, and then I'm like, okay, clearly you need to be in here as well. And so I'm like, should I wait it out? And then this, someone comes in and like sees that, both stalls are taken. And what a logical person would do is like, oh, I'll go to the other bathroom. No, ma'am. She stays. She stays in this tiny little room. And like, so she's essentially in front of my door, which, it's not those fully enclosed. So you could, like, if you're standing there long enough, you can see in there. Mm-hmm. You can like see straight up in there. The person inside can't really see you, but you can straight up like watch a person. And so I'm sitting there, I'm like, I gotta get out of here. I'm just gonna, and I had just gotten in. I'm like, damn it. Really, ma'am? Really? You're gonna fucking stand there and stay? And like, why? Like, same thing with a job I had some years ago. There was a love seat. There was a couch in the women's restroom. Like, ew, like why? Like a cloth one. A cloth, which means the particles can like embed themselves in it. It wasn't like it's, leather or vinyl, something that you can, I don't know, wipe off. Yes. And so and there's been times when I've gone in there and someone is like posted up on that couch in the restroom, and I'm like, why? No. Why are you just hanging out here? Like, and she was taking a nap. My baby. And so I go in there, I open the door, and I'm like, son of a bitch. And then I have to leave. I leave because I'm not gonna just go like, right. Ma'am.
No, I think it's a sanctuary.
Yes.
For that brief period in time, that is your space, that is your time.
Yes.
I might make a sound or two that I would prefer not wake you from your nap.
Right. I don't need to have you become awake and be like, oh my God, what is happening? Like, no one asked you. Why are you in here? You know where you are. Right. Keep your mouth shut, okay? Keep your mouth shut. But just like, I got up and I left, and I was like, I just looked at her. I was like, really? Yes. You're just going to... Cool. So, yeah. Honey, don't linger in the restroom. Why? What is wrong with you that you feel fine and comfortable just chilling, hanging out in a public restroom?
standing outside your door.
Like, it's right in front of me. Like,
come back to
you
find another
leave.
one.
You leave. You go back to your cubicle and, like,
Come back after a
and
while.
come back. Give it a minute. But you're just gonna. You see, it's quiet in here. You know, we're both. It's a stakeout. Like, you know this. It's quiet. Okay. And you're fucking up the whole vibe. So, yeah, please, for the love of God, take some consideration and just leave, go back to your cubicle, or go to a different restroom. Like, why? Why would you do that? Why?
Point well taken.
Jesus Christ. So, that's it for...
On that note.
On that note, we've got to get on about our evenings. Thank you again to Matt and R.G for joining us.
So nice
Thank
to be
you.
here again. Thanks.
Yeah, and a couple Lindas. Again, let's follow up and keep this conversation going. Find us on Facebook at A Couple of Lindas, as well as shoot us an email at coupleoflindas@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you and learn more about what self-care means to you and your love languages and all that good stuff. So we'll see you next time on A Couple of Lindas.